Hello. Well, what are you laughing at?
I always do. I'm just such a happy soul. How are you?
I'm fine.
Great to have your company.
Welcome to Our Time.
Yes.
That's
Our
what
time
we're
and your time at the same time, we hope. Time. How many times can you say time? Today, in this episode, we have the beautiful Lauren Hillman, who is our boss from
Channel 44.
Channel 44, which is the channel in South Australia that makes Our Time.
That's right.
And whips all around Australia with it.
So she's here to talk to us about what's happening.
The future of community television, because you may or may not have heard that community television won't be on free-to-air anymore as of next year. And so we all need to know what's really going to happen to it. And she's here because she's an expert.
That's right.
She's pretty Sheila too. And we're also going to find out about...
Cars?
Yes, and...
No, it's not living. Is it Living Choice? Ian's here.
Ian's here with Peter, and we're finding out about what happens when you retire and the choices that you can have.
Independent living.
That's right.
What he called it.
Yes,
didn't he? That's what
it's
I was
independent
trying to
as
say.
opposed to assisted living.
That's
if
right.
you need assistance. So right now, let's find out more with Peter.
Thanks, Malcolm. Well, we're all getting older, although it doesn't seem like it sometimes. Retirement around the corner for many of us. With me in the OurTime studio now is Ian Tregonning from Living Choice. Ian, retirement. It's a bit scary.
It's not scary. The options are fantastic now and better than they've ever been.
So how did you get into it, first of all? What's your background?
My background is engineering, firstly, but then we got in, I have a partner, Graham Hobbs, and we got involved in hospitality in 1992, hotels, and then we then sort of segued into retirement. We still have both. In the year 2000, we bought a village in Sydney called Leisurely Gardens, which was quite an old village. And if you can run hotels, you can run retirement.
I was going to say they're pretty compatible, aren't they?
They're compatible, yes. I mean, you're just dealing with people and people's needs and satisfying them. And so we got involved in that. And then we decided we liked the industry. And so we then targeted a number of retirement village groups and eventually bought a company called Living Choice. Living Choice Australia, which at the time in 2003 when we purchased it had 7 villages, 650 villas and apartments. We've now grown that to our current total of 9 villages, 1,650 villas and apartments, and we have 3 more sites that we haven't yet started on, so we've got about 800 villas and apartments in the pipeline, so we've grown enormously.
Gee, and a relatively short time as well.
Well, since 2003, yes, 13 years.
Now, you're saying that you've got to, rather than rely on outside designers, architects, you've got your own team of people, which is good because you can get exactly what you want at the right price.
We have, I mean, retirement... building retirement villages is a very capital-intensive industry, and Graham and I are private. We're not what we call the not-for-profit groups. And I have a saying about not-for-profit. There's no such thing. Even the Masonic villages and all the church, Southern Cross and all that, they all make a profit. They have to survive, and so do we. But to streamline the process, we have our own design team. So we have 6 architects in-house. We have our own building company. So we design, build and operate. So we're not developers in the true sense because we stay with the village and operate the village once it's finished.
So you can get exactly what you want without any hassle. So how many people live in retirement villages roughly in Australia? It's obviously a growing older population these days, a lot of baby boomers.
There's a tsunami of baby boomers about to hit. Currently in Australia there's about 184,000 people living in retirement villages, which is about 5.7% of the eligible age over 65.
Right.
We would like to see that ratio improve, but there's a staggering statistic that in 2030, 1 in 5 residents in Australia will be over 65. So it's growing enormously, and by 2050 there'll be 8.1 million retiree age people. Now, there's just not enough supply to satisfy those people.
Well, you're helping out with that. So how old do you have to be to get in on the ground floor? Do you have to be 65 or can you get in earlier?
You can get in anything over 55. We have a few special cases for health reasons where we have a few people less than that, but generally over 55. The average entry ages for our villages is in the order of early 70s. And generally the newer the village and the more attractive it is, the younger the demographic you attract. But early 70s is about the normal entry age. The average for Australia, I think, is 76.
And a lot of people would be couples, of course, husband and wife or partner, whatever.
A lot of couples. Inevitably, our oldest village, Leisurely, has mostly females because females tend to outlast males for some reason.
Now, obviously, people don't want to move into a slum, but they want to move into something that's comfortable, that's something like they've already had experienced in their own home.
Yes.
And I guess you try and provide that with all the amenities, creature comforts, that sort of thing?
I'm a bit of a cruiseaholic. I love cruise holidays.
Right. And me too.
and to me, I classify a retirement village as a cruise ship. So you're paying for your cabin, which is your apartment or your villa, and then you have all the facilities that you can use or not use at your own leisure. So you have bowling greens, swimming pools, auditoriums, health facilities, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, you name it. We really tick every box. So libraries, craft centres, men's workrooms, billiard rooms, practically everything you could possibly hope for, even tennis courts and bowling greens.
So, cost, obviously people have their own family home, they might have lived in it for many, many years. Is it necessary to sell that, or what's the procedure if you want to finance this sort of lifestyle? Generally,
the costs in our villages vary from 98,000 to over 1.5 million.
I'll have that one. Can I have that one?
Yes. Well, in fact, that sold very quickly.
Oh, I bet.
Very quickly. We've got a village at Fullerton, which is on the old Home for Incurable site, and the dearest apartment sold in no time flat. But anything from 98, the average price is around $400,000 to $500,000, and most people spend about 80% of what they realise from their home. So they keep about 20% up their sleeve for living.
I was going to say, and they can choose wherever they need to be, or bring some of their own furniture and all that sort of stuff.
Generally, the facilities that we build are big enough that they can bring some furniture. Often it's nice to have a new start, but they often have some pieces that are sentimental and they can bring in. It's interesting when you're building a number of similar apartments, how differently they're all decorated, and some of them are fantastic, and some of them are an ode to their past.
Oh yeah, no, it's good to have you, because things that you've had with a lifetime with you want to keep.
Correct.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
So, any cost of living savings from what's the advantages of rather just trying to hang on and stay in your own home?
The trigger for most people moving in, sometimes it's a health scare. More often than not, it's the house is getting too big, it's getting old, the maintenance, the gardens are too much to maintain, and older people now want to travel a lot. So the beauty of moving into a retirement village, all your gardens are maintained, so that's the main reason that people move in.
Well, it's security as well, obviously. I mean, a lot of these places, they're gated type communities. I don't know, sometimes they are. They don't have to be.
We have gated communities, but most of ours aren't. However, they're far more secure, because if you enter a village, there's usually only one entry.
Right.
And so if anyone's going in there to do nefarious activity, they've got to go out the same way. Right. And everyone's got a set of eyes in the whole village. So
as I say, it's a community thing, and you're not alone at these places, because you meet friends and of your same age, same interests, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
The most common statement that I get when I talk to our residents is, "Why didn't we do this earlier?" Years earlier. Yeah. I mean, without fail, because a lot of people, there's a bit of a stigma. Oh, you're going into a retirement village, you're that old. But once they get in, they find they've been living in their home, probably surrounded by people that are moving in with children. So not many people their own age. once they get into a village, there's so many activities and so many people of a like mind that if they want to get involved in travel or a bridge game or watch the footy or whatever, they make a whole lot of new friends, and it's a fantastic dynamic.
I know someone who lives in one of these villages, not one of yours, but
Yes.
and there's a couple of gentlemen who organise tours. They go weekend tours, the cruise thing. They go on bus tours, things like that, and it's fantastic. And it's a whole new world for most people.
It's fabulous, and we actually have in our villages, we have community people that arrange activities, but once the village gets to about 30 or 40% full, there's so many interesting and fascinating people that become residents. It gathers its own momentum, and you know, we have so many activities, Tai Chi, and you just name it. It just goes on and on.
Now, you're retirement only, but you're touched on obviously aged care is another issue, because as people get older, they might want to transition from what you're doing now into something else. Is that in the pipeline for you guys?
Yes, our villages are what they call independent living. So you can go in there. Generally, we have nursing care if you need it. We have medical suites in the village.
Oh, really?
So you have a lot more access to physios and doctors and all the medical facilities that you might need. But we are now co-locating aged care to most of our sites, so that if you have one partner perhaps gets ill or has dementia or becomes high care, they can move right next door. So that's become a trend. We are qualified to do that, but we've got strategic alliances with a few of the better operators, and that co-location is just another box ticked for someone to move, because it's generally their last major move, and then if they need high care, well, they've got it next door.
It's great peace of mind, isn't it? Because obviously if you've been married to some people 50, 60 years and they don't want to be apart from their partner.
Absolutely, and they can literally walk. You know, we have one of our villages on the Sunshine Coast, Twin Waters. We carved off a hectare of land, and we're building for Estia an aged care facility there now. And that's going to be heavily subscribed.
So in the pipeline, where are your villages?
We have 9 villages. We have 2 on the Sunshine Coast. We have several in Sydney and Central Coast, New South Wales, and we have 2 in South Australia. So we've got Fullerton and Woodcroft in South Australia, and then more villages coming in, 1 more coming in Sunshine Coast and 2 more in Sydney.
Ian, it's been fascinating chatting. We'll get back to you a bit later on, but thank you very much for giving us your time on Our Time today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Next up is Lauren Hillman with Malcolm and Janice.
And welcome back.
Welcome back, yes.
Welcome back.
I know, I love that.
Oh, auditions will be next week, because we have with us again, fortunately, the station manager of Channel 44, C44 here in South Australia, the lovely Lauren Hillman.
Hello,
welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, Lauren, last time we were being political, but this time we need to talk about what other things we can do to watch community television in the comfort of our own home, on our mobile phones or tablets.
So it's exciting because we've gone online. We've got this great platform that's been built by Hostworks, and they're the same people that built the ABC iView platform as well.
Right.
So, and they've created a really user-friendly platform across the country for us. So if you're in Perth, West TV, if you're in Melbourne, C31, and it's a great platform where you can go on, you can watch your favourite program, OurTime, on demand. Yes. All the episodes are there. You can also stream live. So if you're in an area that may not get community television reception, you can stream online on our beautiful app.
But that means anywhere in Australia, doesn't it?
Anywhere in the world.
In the world, of course.
The world, yes.
Because at the moment
global.
you can...
Yes, you're global.
Oh,
you might have some massive fans in Germany. Who knows?
I don't know any German. I can't even encourage you in German.
There you go.
So, and that's really interesting, because whilst we've got the negativity of perhaps the station going off air in free-to-air, we've actually got this other great advantage of being global.
And and it's not just about being global. It actually gives us an opportunity to create new forms of content. So we're able to create shorter form content, not your traditional half-hour programming, because it doesn't have to fit into a schedule for a 7-day a week, 24 hours a day, free-to-air schedule. So it's exciting because we've been able to do some short-form content with the Guitar Festival recently. We've done some stuff with Sala, and the exciting thing is we're now streaming events live. So earlier, a few weeks ago...
This is fantastic,
It's
yes.
great. So we streamed the Media Resource Centre here in South Australia. They had a Screenmakers conference where they got all these speakers from around the country, and we streamed live into other hubs throughout Australia. So, the opportunities are greater.
But different.
But different.
It's a matter of taking a brain from here and just moving it sideways there, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the thing about online is that there's so much more competition, and there isn't the ability to actually finance it in the same way either.
No, but there has always been the competition, because when you think about, YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get anything, anywhere, anytime from
That's
YouTube.
right.
The reality is this is just another... I suppose it's the opportunity to watch people who've become your friends, hopefully, via a TV set.
Yeah.
We've become, hopefully, friends of yours, and you would think, I wonder what they're doing this week.
Yeah.
But you won't have to tune in at any particular time. You can just do it when it suits.
You can just go watch it. But, we are streaming live as well, so you know that the program's going to air alongside with our free-to-air broadcast. You can tune in at the same time as your program's going
I've
to air.
watched our program on my phone.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh,
I was terrific. You weren't so good, but I was terrific.
Yeah. Well, even during the month of Ramadan, it was really highly important that we were streaming then, because a lot of the Islamic and Muslim community tuned in via their phone. They didn't tune in free to air because a lot of them didn't have access to a TV. So we got the analytics, and that was something that was highly important for that month. So there's benefits.
Yeah, speaking of getting the analytics, do you know who's watching? Do you know the numbers?
Yeah, we do. And, we were fortunate. In South Australia, we had a unique audience of about 45,000 viewers a day, which is not too bad compared to the free-to-air channels, especially in the competition with all your Netflixes and your Stans and your on-demand viewing. So, yeah, we're building our audience because we've only been online for not a great period of time. Our audience is starting to build, but I think one of the greatest strengths is the fact that it's shorter content that's shareable. So we're seeing a lot of traction through Facebook and also our YouTube page, as is Melbourne. So they're seeing a lot through their YouTube page as well.
So where do you really think the future of television's going?
Well, I think eventually, and we're talking years, I think the future will be online. But I think in the next 6 months, there's still free-to-air TV that has an audience. So I think we're still, not out of the water in terms of where our future lies, but we're rallying hard and making sure that beyond 2016 that, our future looks bright, whether it's just online.
It's funny though, it does make you wonder when there are all these other now versions of the major stations. How many exercise machines and how many cooking devices and how many garments you could possibly want to buy from some of those TV programs. You think,
I know.
Good heavens, how many times can I do this on a chair? Or it really...
How many have you bought of those?
None. None. And late at night you think, I just seen what's on, half awake, half asleep. I'll just whip round and see what's on. Yeah. And there's some buff guy pumping something. You think, I bet he didn't get it from that. So or someone's doing some sort of food thing like... Gee, what we need are more food shows on television and more cooking devices that we can make them at home.
You're not a fan of the food shows, are you?
No, what rubbish.
You know that I produced 6 years of Post Kitchen and Cooking the Chef with Maggie Beard, don't you?
Well, now that's slightly different.
Whoops.
No. To be fair to you and to be fair to those programs, Maggie and Simon had a different sort of rapport with them. It wasn't competition. I nearly said a word that started with B then, but it wasn't a competition.
Well, it wasn't reality. It was factual TV. It wasn't reality TV.
I'm so sick of watching somebody compete with laboured doo-dum, doo-dum. We may as well get the shark attack music out. You know,
Floss higher.
it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And what I think is sad is that we're inundated with a dozen or so of those now throughout television.
I know.
That are just perpetuating the same thing. It's just, are you a TV food junkie? Do you eat real food at any time? You know, it's like saying, do you ever get out and exercise with all the exercise programs on? I mean, a program like ours, for example, is trying to give people a taste of all different types of life.
Yeah.
And trying to just pass on information that's of value. I don't believe those commercially laden programs are of any great value apart from spending money. Sorry, my rant is over. Shut up now.
Well, you know, to some extent I do agree with you, and, you know, I've worked across the board, and I have worked for commercial TV, and I have worked for the ABC, and now I find
everyone has
myself
to make
hearing,
money.
Yeah, absolutely, but I think, you know, above everything, because I've lived in South Australia, and it's harder to work in this media industry here, and so I feel very fortunate that I've held a position in something that I'm very passionate about. I'm a storyteller. I love producing television. So, you know, but now to have taken over a station that is community based is so important, and, you know, that's why we're kind of fighting till the bitter end to make sure that, you know, we keep it in South Australia.
Well, in every state.
Yeah, in every state.
Yeah.
I mean, Melbourne, you know, the same applies to Melbourne and Perth and Brisbane. So.
Yeah. And everyone's trying really hard to make it happen and to include local people so that you've got a local voice. And to me, it's all about a local voice.
Absolutely.
It truly is.
Absolutely. And there's nothing to say that, you know, when we are online only, and if we're online only, I should say, not if, not when, that there's a chance for us to even potentially come together, and, you know, there could be a Northern Territory community TV, there could be a Tasmania community TV, because it does bring us together online, because we have run independently as our own separate businesses. So there is that chance to come together in a more broad sense, but...
Well, here's a question I never asked you before. Will there still be commercials on online?
Yes. Yes, there is, because we still need to be able to fund it. There's still...
Well, that's the big question. How is it really being funded? And that's what people don't really understand. Commercials are there to pay for the program to go to air, so you don't have to pay.
Well, absolutely. And the thing is that, you know, our free-to-air model is made up of sponsorship and transmission fees, because we have to pay so much Broadcast Australia every year.
And people don't probably realise that either.
They don't realise that, and they don't realise that all of the stations run on the smell of an oily rag, and without all of the teams of dedicated volunteers, there'd be no station. So, you know, I'm very, very appreciative of all of my wonderful, committed, dedicated volunteers there. Without them, there would be no station, and there'd be no community TV.
Exactly.
So,
but we've all got to cooperate together to make things happen. Well, that's great information, Lauren, about everything. So good luck to you for the future too, because it's going to be more and more interesting as time goes on. And what do we usually say at this point?
Well, we'll be back with more after this.
Talking with Gary Dickerson from AA Family Motors, and Gary, we're going to try and find out how people can get a decent car. And you've got all the answers.
Yeah, well, hopefully I do. If you come down to our car yard, I can go over a car. You might have seen me on a commercial that I do, and I'm the person that's on the commercial. When you come to the yard, that's the person you get. I go over the cars and I explain everything to them. I go over and make sure they haven't been in accidents and stuff like that. And we offer a quality product.
And how do your prices, how do they compare? Is it all basically the same?
Yeah, sometimes we might be cheaper, sometimes we might be dearer. It just depends on the car.
So what should people look for in a car? I mean, you stated the obvious, but are there things, you see people kicking tyres, why do they do that?
Why do they do that? Because they're looking for a salesman.
Is that why they do, instead of sort of saying, oi, you kick a tyre and a salesman comes running?
Well, sometimes they're worried about asking a question about finance, or, you just have to get it out of them why they come into the car yard, and they really come in for a salesman to sell them a car.
All right. What sort of warranties do you give? That's to do with how much the car costs and also the age,
look, we do the statutory warranties, but there's also, you can purchase the extended warranty anywhere from a year to 5 years.
Okay, and they're worth it?
Yes, Australia-wide. If you do the right thing by your car, of course.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're pointing you in the right direction. Gary Dickerson, AA Family Motors.
So it's that word, isn't it? The retirement word.
If you say so, Malcolm.
Yes, and we're just saying, where are you going to retire?
I'll retire into one of our villages, thank you very much.
That was fascinating. We were just talking about the fact that people could, from one village, go holiday perhaps in another village.
Correct.
Isn't that a good idea?
And very
So
reasonable
if you live
too.
in cold old Adelaide, you can go up to the Sunshine Coast for a sojourn in midwinter.
Yes.
How good's that?
That's very good.
I think that's brilliant.
I'd do that, yeah.
Would you do that?
Well, the price is right. Ian was saying it's fantastic.
Yes, just pay for the electricity.
$50 cleaning fee.
There you go.
Cleaning fee.
Cleaning fee, yeah.
I'm a messy person, it'd be more than that. Look, folks, we loved having your company for this episode of Our Time. We'd just like to remind you that you can find us on Facebook and find out more about the program. You can also watch past episodes of Our Time on YouTube, and you find the links on Facebook.
You can.
We're everywhere.
Well, the good thing about that is wherever you are in the world, it's a bit like what you're doing. Wherever you are in Australia, you can connect.
Absolutely.
And the good thing is you can connect and find out who we've had on the program, the stories we've had, and so on. And of course, with community television leaving our TV screen as a free-to-air product, you need to find out a little bit more about how to view our show and many other shows through your computer, or if you've got a smart TV, through your smart TV. So until next time on Our Time, keep yourself nice till we meet again.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.